Hey peoples, and welcome to the next Zenith Update. I thought I'd do this one more in person, as it's been a long time since the last Zenith Update, and there are some more, shall we say, serious things I want to talk about at the beginning, and then we'll get hopefully a bit more light-hearted as things go on. This is unscripted, as I just felt like I just wanted to just talk about these subjects without them already being solidified in stone, allowing me to kind of maybe think outside of things that I might have not thought about now while doing it here. Of course, I'm rambling as usual, so there might be a few edits here and there as I tend to ramble. So I'm going to open with my absence over the last few months. Basically, the middle of October last year, my father passed away. It was unexpected. He was only 66. It was a heart attack. It happened in the middle of town. None of us were there. He was on his way to the opticians. People in the street tried to resuscitate him. The ambulance got there. Managed to get his heart beating again, but it was irregular and stopped. Then they tried again and got it back to a kind of stable beat. Then they took him to a hospital via helicopter. And when they tried to resuscitate him again, it was discovered that he had brain damage from lack of oxygen. And so we had to let him go. Devastated is probably the only word I can think of, but doesn't come anywhere near close to how it has affected me and my family. My father was a driving force for me in being a creative person. You know, it was because of him is what I got into drawing, which then led to everything else. And for the most part, the works that I made, there was always, I was making this to show my dad, to make my father proud, you know. And with him not being here, I did consider giving this up, I must admit. But he wouldn't have been favourable of that if I had. So these past few months I've been trying to get back on the horse, as it were. And I've managed to do a few things here and there, but it's a lot harder than it used to be. Normally my head would never shut the fuck up, but now I'm having to really coax the ideas out of myself. And like I said, I'm getting better, definitely, which is why I felt like now was the time to do this update. So yeah, I thought I'd have more to say, but that's why I've not been about for so much, why I've not really been on social media as much. Not that I really use it that much anyway. But that will hopefully be changing as we move forward. So let's continue with the update and let's try and put a smile on the face, shall we? So what you're seeing now is timestamps of all of the different things I'm going to talk to today. And just in case there are things here that's like, well, I only want to know about whatever, so, you know, jump to that point in time. Okay, so first on the docket is Silent Hill Requiem. I believe this will probably be the last time I speak about Silent Hill Requiem in an update such as this, because, well, the project is basically finished. Digital copies have been sent to those that donated, and in terms of physical copies and other perks, I currently still have 23 untaken physical editions of Silent Hill Requiem by backers from the original Indiegogo. Now what I've been doing is I've been contacting everyone that donated for a physical release just to make sure that I've still got their current address. I mean, obviously this was like 5 years ago, so chances are people have moved, and it turns out that 90% of the people that got back to me had changed their address. So if you're a backer and you are waiting on a DVD or Blu-ray edition of Silent Hill Requiem and you've not heard from me, go check your emails, because the chances are I have emailed you asking you about which format you like and what your current address is. The email addresses that I've used for people are the email addresses that were given to me from PayPal, you know, as from your donation. If you don't have access to that email address anymore, and some people have told me that they didn't, which I don't know, but get in contact with me. Email address will be here, and drop me a line, let me know what your current address is, what format you want, and which perk you donated for, and we'll get that all sorted out for you. In regards to the other perk gifts, which would be the signed posters and the storyboard book, posters have been printed and Olwen has signed each one of them. I will sign them as well, and then what I'm hoping to do is to get Sam, who played Henry, to sign it as well. So then at least you've got the three main actors, including the guy that made the film, signed on the poster. I think that's probably going to be the easiest thing to do. Sam's family does live where I am right now, which is back in my hometown, so the chances of Sam coming this way during all this messiness with the virus should be a possibility. So I'll be able to get hold of him and get him to sign it, then I'll sign it, and then they'll be going out. In regards to the storyboard book, I am currently scanning the pages from the storyboard into the computer. Everything was drawn in pencil, so I figured the best way to do it quickly was to scan it in to Photoshop, and then using like level adjustments, you know, enhance the blacks and the whites so it looks like it's been inked. Because if I was to go through and ink it to then scan it, you're looking at another 3 months probably, because it's 160 odd pages of around about 8 panels per page, so that's a lot of drawing. So I figured this would be the quickest way to do it. So once I've got it all scanned in and all nice and neat, I'm then going to use probably something like lulu.com to get them to manufacture it into a book, and then they will then send the copies out to those of you that donated for that perk. So all being well, all perks should be gone within the next 4 to 5 months. And then that wraps up Silent Hill Requiem, which pretty much takes us neatly into Silent Hill Lazarus. So, Silent Hill Lazarus, what's going on with that? With the virus, as that's probably going to keep coming up as I talk, we had let me backtrack. So we wanted to raise $8,000 for the 12 episodes of Silent Lazarus. We raised in the Indiegogo just over 2, and then since then I've been trying to raise more by encouraging people to donate for a digital copy of Silent Hill Requiem, and then any people that do donate, that's where that money is going, into that kitty. And we've got just shy of half of the initial budget that we wanted, so that's leaving me with a few options. In terms of filming, we had postponed filming obviously to try and raise the budget, and we were going to film this summer, but with the way the virus is and the fact that all of my actors are literally coming across the country to my studio to film, I've decided to postpone filming to either later in the year, you know, sort of autumn winter time, or just to bite the bullet and postpone it all until next year, when hopefully all of this is blown over and everyone's like, oh, remember that time when we couldn't go out? That was funny. You know, it wasn't, but it isn't. But that's basically what's going to happen with Silent Hill Lazarus. We're going to postpone filming for, like I said, either the end of this year or beginning of next year. And then what we're going to do is film episode 1 and possibly episode 2. And then with that, I will then release them as I finish them with, you know, a little bit at the end saying, you know, did you like Silent Hill Lazarus? Would you like to support the project going forward? We want to make 12 episodes, and then hopefully with each sequential episode released, it adds more money back into the budget so that we can film the next episode. In terms of the idea for Silent Lazarus, was there'd be 6 episodes that would be plot, and then there'd be 6 episodes that would be kind of like your freak of the week. And what might happen is, if we never end up raising that amount of money, I might go from 12 to 6 and then have 3 plot heavy episodes, like at the beginning, middle and the end, and then in between that would be your kind of freak of the week episodes. Because I want to explore this idea of Silent Hill being a town in which people live, and, you know, can random things just happen to random people, or is it always Silent Hill reaching out and pulling people in? I just wanted to explore that idea, hence the freak of the week ideas, whereas the actual running storyline follows on from how Silent Hill Requiem concluded. And that's pretty much what we're going to try and do with Silent Hill Lazarus. So keep your eyes out for that, and if you haven't already donated to get yourself a copy of Silent Hill Requiem, now's the time, because your donation will also be helping us get Silent Hill Lazarus off the ground as well. So, moving on. T.L.E. So, I have been working on my next feature film, which has been mentioned before. T.L.E, a cyberpunk science fiction sort of nod to Blade Runner, being my all-time favourite movie. We filmed most of Olwyn's parts, which she makes up quite a majority of the film. But we didn't get to film everything in our first initial batch of filming, and we were going to film some more of it this year, but as I mentioned before, the virus is, you know, to err on the side of caution, I'm postponing all filming either till later in the year or till next year, just to be safe. So that's what's happening with T.L.E. Stuff's been filmed, and the rest of it will be filmed either later on this year or next year, and that's what's going on with that. Splatterhouse, Jennifer Smells of Rot. So, hopefully you have already watched episode 1 of Jennifer Smells of Rot, which was released last October, which was a difficult time for me, I must admit. My father had just passed, and I needed something to do while we were waiting to see if my father would recover, and that was kind of what I did. Was I made episode 1 of Splatterhouse. I think I released it on Halloween, or I may have missed it by a day. Honestly, I really can't remember. But I'm thinking going forward, that's kind of what I'm going to do with Splatterhouse. It's going to be a Halloween thing. So expect to see episode 2 this Halloween, and then so on and so forth. Another reason why I want to delay kind of bringing it out once a year rather than bringing it out once a month is what I was hoping to have achieved by this point was better understanding of 3D animation in things like Blender and 3ds Max, etc. So that was going to be a way I was going to make the monsters for Splatterhouse. But hand on heart, I haven't got as far in learning these pieces of software as I would like. They are incredibly complicated, and animating things in 3 dimensions is like, wow, it's mind-blowing. I can do it in 2 dimensions, and you know, I can manipulate a 3D model. You know, a car, I can make the wheels turn and then have the background rushing by. Oh, it's a car driving. You know, I can do that sort of stuff. You know, very, very medium, amateurish sort of 3D model and stuff. But coming to making a monster and stuff, it's still out of my reach, as it were. So I'm thinking of doing what I did with Silent Hill Requiem and going back to more practical effects and trying to make these monsters more, you know, practical, more visceral, and whether that be stop frame animation or, you know, guys in suits. And my brother has said that he will help me with that. We're currently living together. at my mum's house. So we can probably get in there and try and work together in trying to make some more sort of practical effects for Splatterhouse. I think it will add to it. I mean, it's supposed to come across as if it was made in the late 80s, early 90s. So, you know, practical effects were still quite strong back then. So that's something we're going to try and do as well. And having Splatterhouse coming out once a year is going to allow me to, you know, get my hands dirty in doing practical effects. And yeah, that's what's going on with Splatterhouse. So expect to see episode 2 this October 31st. Episode. So probably what you might be thinking is, well, what are you going to do with the rest of the year if you're not filming and you're not, you know, editing? Well, editing is something that I am going to be doing. Now, those of you that have been following Zenithfilms right from the start will know of Episode. It was the third short film that I made as Zenithfilms after coming out of university, and it was entered into the Raindance Film Festival. You know, I can't remember what year, but it was the 25th Raindance Film Festival, and it got in and was shown, and that encouraged me to want to make more. And I was always between, shall I make more episodes and it be a kind of episode thing, or should I make a feature of an episodic nature? And that's what I've landed on. I am now turning Episode into a feature film. Now, I was doing that before Silent Hill Requiem became a reality, and so Episode got put on the back burner. Now with Requiem being done, and we're not going to get probably any filming done this year, and you know, Splatterhouse is only a short episode which is going to be coming out in October, so I've got time. I'm going to be working back on Episode. You know, I was about, shall we say, 40% through when I kind of put it to the one side to work on Silent Hill Requiem, so bringing that back into the foray. And yeah, that's going to be what I'm going to be doing this year, is working solidly on turning that little 6-minute short film into its feature-length production. We filmed a ton more stuff after it got into Raindance because I wanted to make more episode stuff. I was like, Episode's doing well, let's film. And what I'm going to be doing with that footage is putting it all together. There's slightly new narrative to what it is in the short film. And if you're a fan of David Lynch, X-Files, Haven, any things like that, that's kind of Episode. It was always inspired by Deadly Premonition, which therefore is inspired by Twin Peaks. And that's what Episode's going to be. So the next feature film is going to be horror, but more, shall we say, abstract, I guess. Horror, more fever dreamish horror than Requiem was. And that's what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the year, and hope to get that finished this year, and then that is going to be going off to the big festivals. I'm going to be trying to get into Cannes with that. I chose Cannes over Sundance just purely because Cannes is in France, so that's literally just over the Channel Tunnel for me, whereas Sundance, that's in America, and I don't know if I'd ever have enough money just to, on a whim, pay for a plane ticket out there. You know, that'd be something I'd have to save up for over a long period of time. So hopefully we can get into Cannes, and if we can get into Cannes, then there's more of a chance that I could probably get a distribution deal for my work, and, you know, finally be part of the industry that I've been working in now for the last 10 years. and yeah, Episode. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of this Zenith update. Again, apologies for taking so long to get back to you. I hope you can understand why. And there's a lot coming moving forward. There's a lot more stuff to film, and there's a lot more stuff to edit. And there's a few short films as well, because we filmed a little Alan Wake thing, we filmed a little Parasite Eve thing, we filmed a little Resident Evil thing, so I'm going to see if I can find time to edit those as well and just kind of drop them out ad hoc as they get finished. I don't know if I'll use them for crowdfunding or anything. I think I'll just literally just use them as, I love this game and we made this little film based on it. Here you go. And, you know, we'll see how it goes from there. So, I suppose it's time to plug, because it usually is. So, Zenithfilms is somewhat reliant on donations, especially for projects, hence the crowdfunding, but also we have a Patreon which allows you to donate money to Zenithfilms on a monthly basis, going down from $1 up to $50, and each perk comes with different perks. Yeah, like I said, unscripted. And the money from my patrons that has been raised so far on Patreon is what helped us film T.L.E, and will be helping us going forward for other things that I want to do with Zenithfilms, other little projects, because though the ideas are a little bit nervous to come out after what happened, I guarantee that once the floodgates open, it's going to be bedlam in my head. So there's going to be millions of ideas and all these things that I'm going to want to do with the work and the stories I like to create. So Patreon is a great way to help support Zenithfilms. Or if you just want to do a one-off donation, we also have a Ko-fi page as well. Or if you want something for a donation, there's always Silent Hill Requiem, and you can get yourself a digital copy or a physical copy. Not sure if I'm going to do like sell posters, just purely because the manufacturing costs end up being so high in the UK that then when you want to, you know, use it to raise money for something else, it's like, well, this has already costed me X amount to make this, so I kind of need to add another 50% on it. And then you look at the price, it's like, no one's going to pay that for a poster. So it's just sort of like, it's probably just better to not bother. I have had some people interested in the storyboard book for Silent Hill Requiem that is just being made for backers. So depending on the manufacturing cost, and if there's an interest, that might be something that we could probably maybe use to raise more money for stuff. You know, I'm not really too sure. I've not been great with merchandising. I think I've promised several times to start a shop and it always gets hindered because of the manufacturing costs of stuff in the UK. So I'm not sure if there ever will be a store, but you never know. It might happen, and that might be another way for us to raise money for projects going forward. I'm rambling. I feel I'm rambling, so I'm going to call it here. And before I go, we're going to do a nice little shout out for my current patrons over on Patreon. I'm going to have to put my glasses on for this so I can read the names. And look at my great glasses. These are from when I was a kid at high school. I was meant to go get some new ones, but then the virus hit. Apologies if I get any of these names said incorrectly. I have said many of them before, and I've never been told I've got them wrong. So I'd like to thank Amy Ballett, Gideon Martinez, Marius Joachim Orth, Paul Dulski, Ale Jewell, Miguel Angel, Jason S. Perry, and Sylvia Garcia. Thank you so much for your continued support of Zenithfilms. Words cannot describe how good it is to know that there are people out there that want to support the weird and wonderful things I like to do. I've always been a creative, and I don't think that's ever going to go away. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if anyone watching this wants to get involved, here's the URL for Patreon, be in the description as well. And you know, a $1, whatever you want, you know. But if you can't offer financial support, just watching my films on YouTube, liking, commenting, you know, sharing them, subscribing to the channel, excuse me. That's all valuable stuff for the work that I make. So please do what you can. And if you don't want to do anything, that's fine too. So that will bring this Zenith update to a close. I'd like to thank you for watching and listening to me ramble on. and I will catch you all next time. I hope you're staying safe, and I hope you're all healthy. All the best.